Okay, we're just going to give it another 30 seconds, a minute for people to just get situated and logged on, and then we'll get started. Okay, I think we're going to get started. Just a reminder that this is being recorded. So if you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to, and this will be available later. So if you have to leave or if someone didn't get a chance to hop on during the live, you will have an opportunity to watch this later. Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to our informational workshop today on social media. We really appreciate you jumping on, and we're excited to share with you today. So if you don't know me, I'm Lydia Smith, and I am the marketing coordinator for Chief Probation Officers of California. And also with me is Laura Dixon, our communications director, who will be also sharing as well throughout the presentation. We also have some county representatives who will be sharing as well shortly, and I'll let them introduce themselves when it's their time. Okay, just a short agenda for today. We're going to just talk over some basics, few branding, messaging, some tools to use, and then we'll have our county examples, which I'm looking forward to, and I know a lot of you are looking forward to, and is probably a lot more relevant to you guys on the county level, so I hope that will be helpful. We're going to have a Q&A portion at the end. We want to leave enough time for that, where you're going to be able to unmute, raise your hand, or just pop questions in the chat. And so for us, either questions for us or for our county representatives. So feel free to, you can save your questions for then, but if you do have questions throughout the workshop, we will be monitoring the chat, and we'll try and address questions during the presentation, or we'll address it during the Q&A. So feel free to drop those questions in at any time, but do know that we're going to have a Q&A portion at the end as well, along with some networking opportunity for everyone to connect. So I hope that sounds like a plan. We're going to get started, starting with our social media 101. So social media, you might have just started, you might just be about to start, or maybe you just got this position in your county and you don't know what the heck you're doing. That's all right. There's a little bit for everyone, and we're all learning. We're all still growing in this area. It is an ever-changing part of the life that we have, the work that we have. And so it is something that we can utilize and grow from at any point in our careers. And I hope that this will be an encouraging informational workshop for you. And if you still have questions at the end, you can always reach out. That's what we are here for. So think if you're just getting started, whether in the new position you have or just getting started, period, with a platform, there's just some basics that we think would be helpful for you to get started on. So I think just starting at what is your identity and what is your message? So having that local identity of what is blank probation department, what's also the global probation department message, aka the California probation message. They're two different and also the same at the same time. So just making sure you have a focus on what your identity is and what your message is a great place to start. Awesome. Once you've figured that out, you can move on to your audience. Who are you looking to communicate with the most through your social media? Are you looking to have new hires? Are you looking to just make sure you bring awareness to what you guys are doing in your community? Awesome. With every post that you post, make sure that you highlight that audience and that you're focusing on that, whether it's your tags, whether it's your hashtags, whether it's just the content itself. Make sure you know who you're talking to. Do you have branding? We'll get a little bit more into that later on. But do you have colors? Do you have a style? Do you have your logo? Pop that on whenever you can. That's a great way to just have your simple branding that you can throw on all the things that you do. Reduce, reuse, recycle is probably my number one recommendation to everyone. templates are your best friend. What I mean by this is imitation is the best form of flattery, I believe, right? So if you see something that's working, whether it's for something totally different than probation, another probation department, California probation, our social media, use it. Go ahead and it's flattery, right? Imitation. And pretty much I would say everything on the internet at this point is not really original content. So if you're using something, whether it's a trend or just something that you saw and were inspired to use, go for it. Use it. Templates, those are the perfect thing to use. Change the coloring, change a couple graphics, super simple. Don't work too hard at it. You don't have to spend a ton of time. There's lots of inspiration out there to help you get started. And it can be as simple as posting a photo of smiling faces or an activity or an event and having a great caption that tells a story with that message. So it doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be fancy graphics. It doesn't have to be fancy videos and reels. Stick to what's basic and just go with it. I would say, how often do you post? Whether you're just starting or you post every single day, consistency is key. So whether that means I'm going to post 3 times a week on Instagram. So I'm going to pick Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm going to post something no matter what it is, whether it's a graphic, whether it's a video, whether it's a story, I'm going to post something 3 times a week. Great place to start. If you've got 10 platforms, and good luck to you if you do, that's a lot. Maybe you're not going to post every single day on all 10 platforms. If you have a team and can do that, great. Divvy up the work. Make sure someone is on something every single day and has a consistency to it. If that means posting once a week because you're just starting out, that is a great place to start. And that is totally a-okay. Just make sure that you're being consistent. With the algorithms changing all the time on all of these platforms constantly, whether it's in the favor of the creator or it's not in favor of the creator. They're constantly changing, but the one thing does remain clear, that consistency is one of the things that gets your content seen. So we do know that video contents are being pushed a lot right now on all of the platforms. So even if it's 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever it is, a little bit of video with some little bit of verbiage is also a great place to start if you can. If you can't, stick with the photos, stick with the posts, keep it simple. It's all good. And then focus on what's working for you. So keep track of that. You don't have to have some fancy Google Analytics person that can read it all and get back into the, HTML of all the different things. It doesn't have to be that crazy. Just look at your basic posts. What has the most likes? What has the most comments? What has the most interaction with you? And that's working. Great. Keep with it. Keep it. Now, sometimes that does mean that some of our messaging is not going to get a lot of likes. It's not going to get a lot of interaction. It's not going to get a lot of content. And that's fine if it's part of the overall reaching global messaging or the overall reaching local messaging. That's all right. Because sometimes you just have to get your message out there, even if that means it's not going to get a lot of likes. Part of the consistency goes back to reducing, reusing, recycling, and that's okay. But if there's something like a trendy video that's working for your county, great, keep up with it. That means the people, your audience loves that. And so that's a great thing to do. If there's some sort of video that you tried out or, a new series you tried out and it's really not working and it's not super important to the overall messaging of probation, toss it. Don't waste your time and your energy on that, which is why number 7, focusing your time and energy is probably the most important. Whether you've got one platform or you've got 5, or you've got different accounts under each different kind of platform. I don't know what you've got going. Don't stress. Just focus. With that consistency, again, I would say if you have one platform and it's something that maybe is daunting for you or you're not sure how to use it, promise yourself you're going to dedicate 10 minutes each day to just figuring it out, whether that means just going on and looking at things, commenting on things, going and seeing what other people are posting. Just dedicate a certain amount of time every single day to doing that. When you start getting to the posting and creating content part of it, I'm going to get on there and I'm going to post something and then I'm going to spend about 5-10 minutes and I'm going to go and like other things, share some other content to my story and reshare other things onto my page. that's a great place to start as well. Don't get overwhelmed. It's easy to get overwhelmed. The content is astronomical on these platforms. I would say just, especially if there's one that you feel most comfortable on, dedicate time to that, get to know it even better. I think all of the social media people who have been doing this for a while on this call would agree that probably our first couple of months on the job were not the best ones, and we didn't have the best content, and it didn't look the best, but it got there. And practice makes perfect, but it'll never be perfect, and that's okay. So rest assured in that, and feel comfortable in that. And if you have no idea where to start, and these are the basics, and even the basics seem overwhelming, it's okay. That's what you can phone a friend is for. So you can call me, you can call Laura, we can jump on a Zoom call with you, walk you through the basics, starting a Facebook page, starting an Instagram page, whatever that looks like. We can help you do that. And hopefully by the end of this call, you'll have a couple of other people on your list that maybe you can call as well. Maybe people who have a similar sized county to you, or just are in the same boat as you and still trying to figure it out, or brand new. That's the goal of this, is to help us all. We can only all learn by growing together, and hopefully coming together and encouraging one another and sharing is going to be the way to do that. So again, there's a lot of potential barriers that you might face. County resources, staffing, time. These are things that every county, I think, is struggling with at the time. And so it's not new. It's not unknown for everyone. So be assured in that everyone is probably dealing with something similar on a different, it might look like a different level, but everyone's still kind of struggling with this. So there's also a lot of things that come with working for a county. You may not just be able to start a social media page just on your own. You might have to go through some hoops and bureaucracy to get there. That's okay. Now, Laura and I may not be able to help you with that as much, because we're not aware what it's like to work in your county and the rules that you have and how that all works. But there might be another county, someone that just went through that same thing on their side, and they're more aware of that like county level process. Reach out to them, ask them, send out an email when we have the contact list and go, has anyone had to create a social media policy? What does that look like? And I'm sure someone would love to help and go, here's what ours looks like. Go ahead and use it and see what you can do with it, and, that sort of thing. So calling a friend when you don't know what to do, and if you don't have the staffing for it and it's just you on your own and you're trying to figure it out, great, that's okay. Don't get overwhelmed by the 7 things on the left side of this page. Focus on one thing, and then when you're confident with that, move on to the next thing. You don't have to do all of it at the same time, and you don't have to start 10 different platforms all at the same time. Start with one. That's exactly what we did at CPOC. We didn't start with 6 platforms and figure it out. Nope, we started with one, we built it up, and then when we got confident enough, we started a new one. And when you have the time, or when you have maybe more of the staff that can do that, that's the time to expand. Until then, don't worry about it. Focus on one, whatever works for you guys. If it's Facebook, if it's Instagram, if it's Twitter, stick with that. Consistency, and just focus on that. So if you don't have experience, if it is intimidating, there's a lot of jargon out there that's not, CTR, click-through rate. What is that? Hey, that's what, YouTube and Google are my best friends when it comes to things like that. And so I encourage you, if you don't know what it is, just go ahead and look it up. And if you still aren't sure, give us a call and we'll be able to help. And hopefully someone else will also be able to help as well. But Laura, did you want to add anything here, or?
No, I think you covered it really well, Lydia. Thank you. And yeah, and we do get a lot of questions, just back to that point of sometimes county level policies or the IT departments or legal and things like that. So so definitely don't let that be a barrier, because CPOC can help from our perspective, at least collecting information from other counties, but as Lydia said, we're looking to try to get more opportunities for networking among the folks in departments that handle social media, and hopefully be able to information share in that way as well.
And then I just wanted to show an example, like this is our social media. This is what CPOC runs, and it might be overwhelming. Don't be overwhelmed by it. We are by no means saying you must have all of these platforms. Not at all. We didn't start with all these. Again, we started with Twitter. That's where we started, or now X as it's called, however you want to call it. And now that we have the ability to have someone, myself and Laura, to share that responsibility, it makes it easier to now have multiple platforms. So if it's just you, one person, one woman show or one man show, like stick with one, that's okay. And then when you feel comfortable, branch out to that second one. I put these up here though, not to overwhelm you, but to encourage you that if you guys are on these platforms, if your county departments are on these platforms and we're not following you yet, that might just be because we didn't know that you were on there and we don't see you. So can you follow us? So follow us and we'll follow you back. And that's also another way of info sharing, content sharing, is that if we're all friends and friends or connections or however you want to call it on the social media platform, we can help with that. So send us things, tag us in things, use the California probation hashtag, and then we can share that content and get it out there more. The more people that see it, the more the message is shared and the more the message gets out there. So just a reminder, that's what we're California probation on all these platforms. So yeah, just people have been sending us things, people have been tagging us and things, and it's awesome. And especially when it helps the overall global message of probation, California probation, it's really helpful to share the certain things from the county local level as well. And so just, yeah, give us the opportunity to be able to do that and help you with that. And we appreciate it. And we also have content that we can share with you. So videos, some photos, things like that. Like if you're just getting started and you're like, where do I start? I don't have any content. That's okay. We've got some videos and photos and graphics that we can share with you that you can post on your pages and get up there so that you have some content to start with. So there's another great place to start. And
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And Lydia, I was just going to add, I think CPOC is a really great story for this. I know some of you that are on the call are already well up and running and have really great, things that far surpass where even we are right now with some things, and have the great level of being able to do the content with officers or with staff, which is tremendous. And some of you are on, kind of just getting into it. But like Lydia mentioned, when we started out, we started out very small and very targeted and purposeful. And then as the staff time and education of everything kind of grew, we were able to sort of start building on that. And then obviously, since Lydia has been able to come on board with it, it's really just, she gives me credit, but she's really done a tremendous job of really getting everything to the next level and enhancing our footprint and exploring other platforms that we weren't able to explore without having that dedicated time. But it's a really good, I think, test case to show that if start small and you can build on it, and depending on where you go with it, but even just being able to get that message out and that narrative out, even in a small way, is really, really critical to probation's work in California.
Yeah, like you can see by this page itself, we do not have the reach that a lot of your counties do. You guys have thousands of followers, and between probably all 58 counties, probably closer up to, I would say, probably 5 digits or more. That would be awesome. I think that's great. But if we can help in any way as we still continue to build our footprint, that'll only help you guys and all of us as the California probation family or community, you want to call it, grow. So like I said, we started with Twitter back in, I think, 2016. Laura started it off. So, she does get the credit for that, Laura. Don't sell yourself short. And then slowly but surely, and with sometimes many years in between, we added platforms to our, library that we have of information in that messaging platforms. I would say if there's any selling point to this info workshop, or if there's any pitch that I'm going to do, the thing I would probably suggest the most is LinkedIn. This is the fastest growing platform for us that we have had in the shortest amount of time. I shared an update with your chiefs in March, and I think the followers that we have on that page have grown 215% since that update in March. That's crazy. And just doing exactly what I said in those basics 101. consistency, sharing the same exact content that we're sharing on all the other platforms. But because the audience is a little different on LinkedIn, it's really growing quickly. And so that's the number one thing I think I stress the most to your chiefs. So if your chief came back from quarterly and said, hey, we should start a LinkedIn, that was my fault, and I apologize if that gave you more work. So LinkedIn has a lot of benefits, and this is just some of them. I know it's a lot of information, so I won't like go over all of it, but tons of visibility on this platform for reaching people of all audience types. It doesn't just have to be probation, which is what's really interesting. You can have up to 30,000 friends or connections, as they call it, I think for a single user, which is just crazy to me. If you know 30,000 people, kudos to you. I do not. But imagine how many people you could reach with your message if you did have 30,000 people. And you don't even have to be friends with people for them to see your content, which is what's really, really interesting with LinkedIn. The more people see of your content, their connections see your content. It's super fascinating. So this is a great place to build the probation professional visibility for your job to a wider audience. This will really help strengthen our California probation brand, and will really, I think, reach that next generation for hiring, because I know that's one of the number one things that counties are focusing on right now is hiring, getting the next generation to come and work for probation. As we see people move on and retire, that's who we need to keep this business going, right? So this is a great platform to share studies, projects, your success stories, to celebrate your individual accomplishments, right? Like each department is built up of individuals that then create teams, that then create departments, that then create the California probation statewide group, right? So if you highlight those accomplishments, the individuals feel better, that strengthens teams, teams strengthen departments, and departments keep this state running. So I would highly suggest that if you yourself are not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. It's a great place to just take pride in where you work. If that's something you're able to do, if you're comfortable doing, if you can share where you work and say, I work at such and such probation department, and I'm proud of my department, and I'm proud of my coworkers, and this is what we've accomplished, and this is the lives that we're changing. That's a great place to start. And I think it'll really grow, and we can be one of those groups that does that. So highly suggest, if you don't have it, get on LinkedIn. It's super interesting. There's lots of articles to read, especially about global digital marketing and social media. There's thousands of articles written by people who are running small businesses, working for departments similar to ours, that are writing these articles. So you're getting like firsthand information from people who are also learning. And it's just really fascinating place to be. Just share your normal content that you'd share your videos, share your photos, share your articles, share your announcements, your website things. All of it is really, it really just grows on LinkedIn. And so that's my number one pitch today, is get on LinkedIn if you can. So we've just seen such exponential growth there. It's really awesome. Another suggestion I have, if you don't have a link tree or something similar, there's other names out there for different single link sharing sharing across platforms. Highly suggest it. It's been really helpful for us. You can easily have all of your social media connected across all platforms. One link, you put it in your bio, your description, whatever, link sharing option on the different platforms. And it's a great way to just connect people to your website, any media statements you have, announcements, job announcements, right? Like all your social media pages. We have a podcast, super helpful. If you have a podcast or similar, you guys are featured on a podcast. There is an through Linktree, when you link your podcast, it basically shares every single platform possible to listen to podcasts. It links it to those. So it's just super helpful. I can't suggest it enough. It's a great place. Very easy to start with, very easy to add links and photos and things like that. If you need help figuring it out, happy to jump on a Zoom call and show you how it works. But it's pretty simple, and it's free. There's some limitations with the free option, but so far it's been super helpful for us. So can't recommend it enough. Okay, I know we talk about branding and that word gets thrown around in the digital marketing, social media areas. So just some few things that I have found helpful for branding. Um, just with my limited experience, and I know there's tons of people on this call who have way more experience than me. So if you have suggestions, please drop it in the chat as we're going through it. But in the end of the day, the definition is what makes you or your company or your business or you as an individual, what makes that you definable to your audience. So that can look like what it is. Do people find you recognizable when they just see your stuff as they're scrolling on an endless scroll of content? Do they see your logo? Do they see your face? Like those sort of things. I think when you're starting to focus on your branding more, it's good to start with a style guide. And a style guide just means you're setting up guidelines for what the language you're going to use is, what's your message that you want to get across, who is your audience, going back to those basics, right? Like what's your audience, what's your logo, what's maybe your slogan for your department. I know a lot of departments have slogans. That's a great place to start as well with your branding guideline. And just a place where, like, especially if you have a team, it's a great place for everyone to be able to go, this is what we're doing every single time so that everyone's on the same page, especially if you've got people working on different platforms and things like that. Just having a guide that gets you started through that. And that can look like, your logo and then some color, like a color palette. I would probably suggest sticking with 3 to 5 colors. It's a good way to just easily make your style recognizable when people are looking through your content. And then using images, right? Like if you're just starting, you might not have a lot of images of, real people doing real work or real content. So, there's plenty of free stock images you can use on different platforms, editing platforms, and just, and if you go online and Google images, things like that, to just kind of build up your library. But once you get started, cannot suggest enough taking as many photos as you can, candid, real photos of your work day, the department, the jobs you do, the events you go to, the graduations you host, that sort of thing. And just building your content library. We at CPOC are building a content library because, we also have to share things on social media. And so we're trying to do that. So when you guys send us photos and ask us to share things, like we're saving those things that, we can go back and highlight you later at another time if that's something that's relevant to the messaging we need to send. So highly suggest you starting your own content library as well. That might not always be, you might not always have access to a fancy camera. That's okay. Take that phone out, take the phone camera out, go take photos, encourage your officers if they're comfortable, like, hey, can you take photos when you're out in the field? Or if you go to a special event or a networking thing, can you take photos to share? It's a great place to make you seem real. It's more personable when people see real photos, I think, of real people, makes them feel more comfortable. And I just used these examples from Kings County and Stanislaus. You guys shout out, great job on the branding. It's very recognizable when you see your content going through, like on feeds. And again, it's a lot easier on something like Instagram to see someone's branding like in a more cohesive way because you're looking at a grid of all these little photos and videos. But it's important for the other social media platforms as well. If that just means throwing your logo on everything that you can, whether it's a graphic or a photo, like go for it. Use your badge, use your logo, whatever you've got for your county department. That's a great place to start. If you add verbiage onto your graphics or your videos, I just would suggest focusing on some branding fonts. So maybe pick 3 to 5 fonts that you're gonna use consistently. And rule of thumb, sans serif fonts, that means that they're the most readable. They're easiest to read, and just the size, make sure that it's big enough for people to see. You don't want to have people like squinting, looking at a tiny little phone if they're reading, if they're looking at it on their phone, which most people are going to be looking at content on their phone. And then making sure it's not too big too, where it overwhelms and distracts away from whatever photo you're trying to share. There's a good content rule. It's called the 5-7 rule. If you've heard of it before, like great. I just recently found out about this. The general rule of thumb is 5 bullets per slide. So if you're sharing like more of like this, and I did not follow this rule thoroughly, so I know that I didn't as I went back and looked through this slideshow. So please no judge too much judgment. But the general rule of thumb is 5 bullets per slide, 7 words per line. And that's just for readability and content capturing, basically. So making sure that people are able to see something clearly and not be overwhelmed by the content. And then does it meet this 10 seconds rule? I thought this was an interesting rule. If you sit and stared for 10 seconds, is that enough time to capture the whole message? So is 10 seconds too short? That means you probably have too much content going on whatever it is. If 10 seconds is more than enough, great. People got the message and were able to read through it in less time. And that means that you didn't overwhelm them too much. So just a general rule of thumb. I just thought Kings County and Stanislaus have great consistent pages. They're the Kings County. I love that you guys share photos, and whether that's on a phone or a camera, it's great. You're showing real people's faces, and that makes it very personable when people are looking, and it just brings a lot of attention back to we're humans and humans are doing a job. And so here are those humans that are doing that job. Look at their beautiful smiling faces. That's awesome. It's just positive. It's great. So I just thought that was a really great consistency you got going there. And their highlights at the top branded, right? Like they've got color coordinating with the little tiny emojis you can't see, the little images, but you can, on this screen, you can't see very well, but on the phone, just kind of showing what is this highlight about. Again, Stanislaus as well. You've got great colors going on. You've got a font that you're sticking with. It's very obvious on all your social media, all the posts, on the videos and the photos. Just really great example here. So I wanted to shout you guys out. And these are some great pages to follow, guys, and get ideas from and be inspired by. And I'm sure it didn't start this way right away from them. I'm sure they would tell you that they worked up to this. So just go back, see where it started, see where, you can kind of start to see when people start taking that branding seriously, or they find their branding and it works for them. You can see it on the social media where it really that transition happens. And it doesn't always come overnight. So don't worry about that. Don't be overwhelmed. These are great counties to aspire to. And I'm sure that they're still learning and they're still working at it too. And, so don't be intimidated by that. But I just wanted to give a nice little shout out to you guys for that. So thank you for that. All right, Laura, take it away for us. Oh, you're muted, Laura. There we go.
Thank you. I thought I had clicked that. So thanks, Lydia. I'll just go over really quickly about the messaging. And I think it's pretty clear, but one of the things, we obviously at CPOC have kind of the more global California probation message, and we really focus on the audiences that we're speaking to while really making an effort to make the messaging and the narrative that we give connection to our local departments as well. But we do know and understand that everybody's local departments and local counties are different. So the messaging may need to be tweaked or may need to balance in one way or the other a little bit more, which is totally fine. Much like Lydia was talking about going and figuring out the brand and other things of that nature, kind of setting down and going over the message platform that you want to make sure to weave into anything that you're going to be posting about, whether it be an officer doing something or a juvenile or officers working with youth or people in the hall working with youth, that you just have that message narrative that's weaved in and used locally and what works locally for the audiences that you're targeting. A couple things that we know at the CPOC level that do pull really well, so we want to make sure to share those, and you can get a sense of those being often weaved into our CPOC messaging, is just the function of the highly skilled and trained professionals in probation and the officers. Training is really something that is a good highlight, whether it be what you'd consider field training or the classroom training. Those things, then highlighting both sides of that is really important and really well received by folks from the polling that we've seen. The other thing that is no surprise to us and no surprise to you, I'm sure, is just the multifaceted safety model of probation, that real true balance of accountability and opportunity, of supervision and services, of really kind of being that balance in the system that really exists nowhere else in the system, and highlighting that and the other work, the work that is being done, but adding on and layering that message when you're highlighting that work. A perfect example, I wasn't able to capture it, but I went to a graduation. I was lucky to go to a graduation ceremony yesterday at a center for four men that were graduating from their program, and happened to be in the office and seeing an officer working with an individual and getting them set up with food, and just thinking, I'm like, I would really have loved to been able to just snap a photo real quickly of that, because it was really just a perfect picture of a probation officer and working with an individual under their supervision, and highlighting that this trained professional and this multifaceted safety model of accountability. There's the accountability side that certainly is going on, but then there's that side of, okay, does the clientele have food? Do they have services? Or they have the individualized assessment that is going to help them be successful in reentering into our communities? Obviously, the other point that we try to make sure to highlight, especially in budget times like these, is the cost effectiveness of probation, that you don't have to sacrifice safety when not having people in incarceration, that probation is a very cost effective and safe public safety model for the individuals that are under our supervision and care. Just the connection point and the connector aspect of probation's work with connecting people to education, job placement, all those things that I think a lot of people are really surprised by the work of probation, that it's not just trying to catch, folks doing things and getting them back into the system or into incarceration, that really trying to give them the tools they need to be successful in our communities. And then, just the proven ability to be able to help rehabilitate folks with the use of evidence-based practices. So those are some of the global messages that we really kind of focus on. And I know a myriad of those are some focuses that we see from departments that are sharing things on social media and in their overall communication strategies. So just making sure that you're intentional with the narrative and the messages that you're conveying as you write some context on top of a photo or a video or things of that nature. And that really kind of sums up making sure that the social media shares that we get are on message and on brand.
Exactly. Thank you, Laura. Those messaging polls were really helpful. I won't get too much into the tools because I know that our county representatives are going to share the tools that they're using, and that's probably going to be a lot more helpful for you than what we're using. But if you have recommendations that just like, this is my favorite microphone and this is my favorite camera tripod and it's the best thing ever and I'll die by this, drop it in the chat, because that's how I found some of the equipment that we're using, is because I was out in the field hanging out with folks just like you. And I was like, wait, where did you get that? And share the Amazon link, like that sort of thing. And that's how we're all going to learn. And that's how I found things that help me do my job. And so if you have things that you just think are amazing and you want to share it and get other people use it, then go ahead and drop it in the chat. That's probably going to be super helpful for folks. But I will say probably my number one recommendation, especially for those folks who are just starting out on social media and the design and all the marketing aspect that comes with the overwhelmingness of that. For an editing application, I highly recommend Canva. I'm sure a lot of counties use that, but for those of you like me who did not learn how to use Adobe products, this is the best thing ever. And it is specifically made for people who do not have social media, digital design training. And it's so easy that anyone can use it. And that's their Canva's goal, is so that anyone can become a designer and anyone can share content. So thousands of pre-made templates. You can change the colors, drop in your logo. It's drag and drop, upload a photo, drag it in. And, it's really easy, simple tool to use. Cannot recommend it enough. And if you want help setting it up, want help learning how to use it, happy to jump on a Zoom. It's probably my favorite thing I get to use. And it's my favorite thing, and I can't stop talking about Canvas. So, and then again, like I mentioned earlier, you don't have to have a fancy camera. If you do, awesome. They do all the work for you sometimes, it seems. But get the phone camera out there. Ask people to take pictures with their phone, and that's a great place to start as well. Building your content library, so find a place where you can store it and it's easily accessible for everyone on your team or your department, if people have access to that. And then obviously for video content, have a good microphone. Doesn't have to be fancy, but as long as it makes the audio clear, crisp, and clean, there's nothing much you really need after that. So this is a great place to learn what tools people are using, and maybe something, we all have something maybe that wasn't working and then we found something better. And so I hope that there's something helpful in the chat or that the county share that might help you find something that works for you. So with that, we're going to move on to our county representatives, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves when they come up to speak. But first up, we've got San Joaquin sharing. So go ahead, Stephanie, it's up to you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Post. I am the Public Information Officer, Social Media Manager for the San Joaquin County Probation Department. So go ahead. Yep. First off, our team. So a little background when we got started. It was just kind of a social media committee. I wasn't even on the committee at the time. I probably started with our social media about 3.5 years ago, I would say, and I was just kind of a team member. For the past 8 months, I have had the opportunity to work specifically as our PIO and social media manager full time. So that's where things kind of really kicked off for me, and I've learned so much. Our social media, now that we have a designated person, has really taken off, and then we've been able to take things to the next level. I don't do it by myself. I can't take the claim for everything. We do have a team of about 10 other members. They are full-time probation officers, clerical staff that we have, people that have shown interest in helping promote the department and kind of take a role as a social media team member. So they go out, they assist with gathering content if there's somewhere that, can't be everywhere at once, right? So we depend on people to go out there and we talk about what we're going to do. We try to develop a plan so they know what kind of content to provide. So myself, along full-time, 10 other people that help on the side. The platforms that we utilize are Instagram, that's number one. That is like our go-to all the time. Facebook is second. That one's pretty popular as well. Definitely a different generation than Instagram. Facebook seems to have like an older crowd. We do get more commenting on our Facebook than on our Instagram, which is interesting. LinkedIn, we do utilize it. I know we need to use it more, especially hearing you, Lydia. We're definitely, working on it. YouTube is my big project right now. So we just got a bunch of new equipment, and I'm definitely going to step it up with YouTube. I know everyone's really starting to use it. So that's one that we have. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. We don't use it very often. That's just for like quick messaging, any like emergency last minute situations. And then Threads. We don't use Threads, but what I learned in one of my trainings was that you just want to lock up every social media handle that you can. So even if your department's not using, like I said, we don't use Threads often, we don't use X often, but we locked it up so no one else can create a bogus account. You want to just make sure, you can even put a disclaimer, this account is for informational purposes only, or something just like that, where you just want to make sure that people aren't imitating you. So I highly recommend any platform, just lock up your name, even if you're not going to use it. The equipment that we have, I didn't put everything up here, I realize, but we do have 2 iPhone Pro Maxes. We did request those specifically just to get that higher quality content. Really, we've had these for a few years before we were able to start purchasing some better equipment. We have 2 Sony mirrorless cameras that we started using. We keep them, one at adult probation, one here on the juvenile side, and that's to get that high quality photography, and we just started recording video on it. So we'll start using those for kind of like YouTube and things like that. A MacBook, we did get a MacBook. That just helps us. I don't know if everyone out there uses Apple products. We're all Apple over here. So as far as cell phones go, but we're able to airdrop all of our content to each other, phone to phone, or straight to the MacBook, which does help with editing. So every time you email or you text any content, it starts to lose quality. So airdropping it holds on to that quality better than anything else. So that's kind of what we learned and what we've been doing, and it really, really does help our content. We did purchase a license for the Adobe Creative Cloud so that we can utilize, Lightroom, Adobe Premiere Pro for our higher end editing. We also have a few other programs that we use. It's a whole cloud. Anything that you can really think of is included with the license. It's a great program. We also use Canva, my favorite. Use it all the time. Love it. And I think that's it for our equipment. So moving on to what works. This is kind of the meat and potatoes of my presentation. So the first thing, I think it is super important to understand the chief's vision. I know other agencies may or may not do this, but our department, I do report directly to our chief probation officer. It's just important, whether you're reporting to an administrator or the chief directly, to have a clear line of communication so that there's no blurred messaging, right? Knowing what the expectations are ensures that kind of the content that's being produced aligns with the goals of your department. And it allows you as a manager or social media manager, public information officer, to prioritize and support what the department's priorities are when it comes to just like outreach, rehabilitative efforts, public safety, any messaging that you're trying to get out there. You want it to be clear and consistent, just to help kind of build trust and credibility with the community and your department. So that's kind of like a big one. For me, when I took over, I really wanted to know, what my chief wanted, the direction that the department was going. And so we just kind of keep an open line of communication. The second thing we try to do, portraying a balanced message. It's crucial, right? It is so important to gain the public's trust and to maintain their trust. So you need to show that your department is transparent. So that's something I try to do all the time. We are real, we are human. So we like to show, the good, the bad, the ugly, what we're doing, we're having fun, we're working hard, we're connecting. People need to understand the full scope of the work that's being done, no matter how simple or complex that it can be at times. As everyone knows, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So being able to showcase what we do and why we do it, it kind of just helps minimize misconceptions about the work that we do. Which kind of turns into the engagement aspect, I guess, where you want to be able to engage with the community, answer questions. So I try to do a good job of explaining kind of what they're seeing in my captions. I hate when they get too long because I think people stop reading. But you want to be able to tell a story both visually and in the written portion of it. People do ask questions, people do comment. It is so important to respond to feedback, whether it's good or bad. People can be critical, but that's okay. So you just want to make sure that you are engaging. That way your message, isn't like misconstrued in any way. Next, getting buy-in. I don't know if you guys have trouble getting buy-in from your peers in the department. I know when I started, people ran from the camera. No one wanted to participate. It was really difficult to kind of showcase what we were doing when we couldn't get anyone to participate. So what I always try to remind people is that we're trying to showcase like the work that we're doing, right? It's so important, especially nowadays, we're scrutinized all the time. So when people see that we're out there, we're not just out maybe arresting people all the time, but we're helping people, we're rehabilitating people, we're working with the community, we're making connections. So I have found that highlighting successes, both of our clients or of our officers, what they're out there doing, it's gotten us pretty far. We do highlight our employees of the month, and I think people get excited about it. Highlighting search ops, that's kind of a big deal because you're highlighting specific units. And if you're highlighting one unit, then maybe another unit wants to be highlighted next, and you kind of get the ball rolling with that. Anything that positively impacts the department or community, people are proud. So we went from people running from the camera to now people jumping in to get a photo. If we want to do some stock footage, some B-roll footage just to have kind of in our pocket. So when we have a news release, maybe we need some stock footage to put out there. I mean, just the other day, I expected to have 4 people. I think we had about 12 show up just for a photo shoot. So that was pretty cool. You know, we're really starting to see things. So the more that people see their peers on camera, the more that they'll get involved. I do appreciate feedback, constructive criticism, and I ask for it. I think that's important when you're trying to get buy-in. Because if someone doesn't like something, they'll tell me, they'll be quick to tell me. But you know, there's been a lot of kudos lately, just kind of with the work that we're doing, because we really are trying to step up our program. And then the last thing that about what works is training. So I don't know how much training anyone has, or you know, where you go for your training, but I didn't realize how important it was until I kind of took this gig full time. We are in the spotlight all the time. We need to understand the legal ramifications of what we're doing, because once we put something out there, we can't always take it back. It does not happen often in the probation world, but if we need to manage a crisis, we need to know how to do it. And I had no idea. I went to a training and I'm like, oh my gosh, like if there's a crisis or there's an emergency situation, we need to understand the right messaging to put out there. We also need to create impactful content, right? Meaningful content. You know, we need to connect with people, and then how to engage effectively. So those are kind of like the top things that I've learned throughout my training. I don't know where you guys get your training. I do a majority of mine with a PR firm called Tamron Oldham Communications. I'm going to give her a little plug because they are amazing. They are a social media company that is focused in law enforcement. So they really understand, you know, now they do focus a lot on police, but they are turning the page with probation. We work with them. I know other agencies work with them. They put on all sorts of social media, advanced social media, videography, photography trainings. They have a great conference that they have every year. So if you guys are ever interested in trainings and you can convince your department to go, I suggest that you do. They have helped me tremendously in this position. And we do have them on retainer for any time we have any issues, questions. They did help us with our branding and our website, things like that. But the number one thing to remember, we're a public agency and we're subject to the California Public Records Act. So everything that we put on our social media is public record. You can't just delete a post because you wanted to, or because you can't delete a comment because someone said something terrible. There are, you know, once it's up there, you can't take it back. There are rules regarding like deleting posts. I do know an agency in our county that has been sued for hiding a comment. I don't know the outcome of the case, but there was a lawsuit that was initiated because they hid a comment and it was considered a violation of the Public Records Act. So just a note, if you do decide to take something down, document it, screenshot it, print it, save it, so that way if you're ever called out, you have the documentation and the reason why you took it down. I think it's super important. Again, like I said, handling a crisis effectively without the training that I got, I never would have realized. We always need to be prepared. It helps you protect your reputation and understand how to communicate a clear message during a crisis situation. Technical training, of course, is important because social media platforms and algorithms are always changing. So you want to stay abreast of the changes. I know one year they taught us to put our logo on everything. The next year they said the algorithm doesn't like it, take it off. And so every year we're learning something new, right? I'm not an expert, but I have learned graphic design, video production, how to write, kind of all of that thing, how to engage through the various trainings. And then analytics, I do think that Tulare is going to touch on analytics, but it's really important at least just to understand how to view them, look at them, see how long people are watching videos. We used to do like 45-second videos. I've learned that typically 13 seconds in, people stop watching. I know for myself, I try to look at what I'm watching, and you know, if I'm done with the video in 5 seconds, a bunch of other people are too, right? So I always try to keep that in mind when I am producing content. But if you don't have the ability to go to training, At least do some self-training. I know that I'm always scrolling on Instagram, on the reels, trying to figure out what's trending, what's not, just to stay kind of relevant with what's going on. YouTube is a great resource. I know that Lydia mentioned that already as well. And then just quickly, some quick tips. Planning ahead, we do monthly meetings with our social media team midway through the month. And we plan all of the dates, everything, what's happening with the department. We discuss who's going to highlight it, what we want it to look like, with the type of content that we want. Just try to stay as organized as we can. Growing followers, like you mentioned, tagging, resharing. We partner with agencies all the time. I'm sure you guys do too, right? So when you're working with other police agencies or community-based organizations, tag them, collaborate with them. People reshare it all the time, and you wouldn't believe how many followers you will grow just by tagging, resharing, and then engaging with the community. Our stuff gets reshared on local crime pages whenever we have like big search results and things like that. So people really will start paying attention and following you the more that you interact with others. Quality photos. I told you guys we got those nice Sony cameras. Even if you're posting a reel and you don't have great footage, if you can just get one nice photo to use as your cover photo, I highly recommend it, because when you look at a 9 grid on Instagram, you're looking, and if it's like kind of like a half motion kind of weird photo, if you can find a nice one that kind of represents what your reel is about, super engaging. People will want to look at it. Reels versus carousels. Like I mentioned earlier, Instagram reels all day long. Everyone watches the reels. The carousels, when we do post just a few photos, not so much. We don't get as much engagement. We still do get engagement, but it's just not as much. Facebook, we get it all day long with the photo carousels that we're posting. And then last, the insights, just pay attention to the popular times when you're posting, the demographics that you're posting, what times work. Don't post on a Saturday night. You're not going to get a lot of views. Break times during the day, lunch times, things like that. These are a few videos that I wanted to share. They kind of tell you a different story, all of them. The first one is a video that I put together. It's a longer video. It has a low, compared to the views on here, it has 2,951 views. I had a lot of agencies reach out to me, which is why I thought I should share it. Several agencies asked me what type of editing platform I used. I did everything in Instagram. I did all of the editing there. I kind of just sped things up, slowed things down. Since we worked with multi-agencies, it was like Lathrop PD, the fire department, we were able to tag all of them and kind of reshare this all over and collaborate. So you can go ahead and play that. There's that one. The second one, I also did this video. This was a quick video. It got a ton of views really fast. And this was just a story that we were telling. This probation officer ran into one of her clients. He had a warrant. They ended up taking him to court, getting his warrant, scheduling him a court date, excuse me, taking him over to an organization called Modes of Hope. They got him a shower, a haircut, they got his laundry washed for him. And then immediately after that, they went and picked up a client from jail who never could find his way to his treatment program. And they gave him a ride to New Directions to make sure that he was able to get there safely and hopefully stay. So it was a quick story, very short reel. So that one was just super short. Really, it blew up really fast, and it told a great story in our caption. People really loved it. This next video I did not put together. One of our team members did. It was to showcase our brand new cars. It just can show you like the different editing that and transitions that we've done.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. Let's go.
So that was all done with an iPhone. All of these were done with an iPhone. We didn't use any high-end cameras or anything like that. And she did all the transitions herself. It was really great. We had 28,000 views, so that, kind of went viral in our eyes. And the very last one, super short. It's a recruitment video, over 339,000 views. So I just kind of wanted to share that, there's all different lengths of videos. This one was super popular. It was great. And I mean, the amount of interaction we got was amazing.
I just flipped the switch.
And that's all it was. So it was just a really quick transition, but people loved it. So that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'll go ahead and look through to see if I can answer any questions in the chat.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Chelsea McCarthy. I'm the manager that oversees our social media department at Tulare County. I have some of our team members online with us today. I have two of our social media specialists, Gabby and George, and then our graphic specialist, Renee. And so we put together a little presentation. Some of the content has already been discussed, but we'll hit on some stuff maybe that could give a little different spin. So for us, we created a slide for helpful hints. Really, it's not helpful hints. It's what we wish we would have known when we started. There's a couple of things that we wanted to share, and it's been an evolution for us. So nothing, we've gone back and forth. So nobody's right or wrong if you're just starting or if you are well underway. Some of these things came to us way late in our career. So the first one is establish a vision. I think we've kind of touched on that. It's important to kind of set those parameters and build some boundaries, but if you have those parameters and boundaries, at least there's still some flexibility in there to create for some creativity. But we want to, we got together as a team to look at and understand what type of features we wanted to put out there, what content we wanted to post, what did we want to share, how often do we want to share it, what types of sharing, what platforms do we want to focus more on, and to see set a direction for our entire team. One of the big things that I wish I would have known when we started was to look at the team dynamics. So our team is made up of sworn and non-sworn staff. I'm the only sworn officer that's on our team. Everybody else is non-sworn. I want to share the benefit that I think that the diverse dynamics has is that the sworn officer, knows the functions of the probation department, knows the day in and day out operations of the probation department, where maybe the non-sworn may or may not. So for us, both Gabby and George did not have a probation background, and so they didn't know necessarily all the day-to-day operations, but the best part of having them on the team is they have the creativity and I do not. So having kind of a diverse group has been beneficial for us. Also, it's been beneficial to have like someone in a leadership position or a capacity to be on the team. So initially when Gabby would go out and try to, wrangle some people in and get that buy-in that Stephanie was talking about or that participation, it was a little bit difficult. But if you have somebody who's been around for a while, maybe knows, their job in and out and can kind of help coach them along, it's been beneficial for us, and we've been able to really increase our involvement and staff wanting to participate. And the last thing for the team dynamics that we wanted to touch on is really looking at your team size. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to post? What vision did you set for your team? And understanding that team size does matter. So, we went in all gung ho, like we're going to have all these platforms and we're going to have this engagement and we're going to post all these reels and we're going to post, every other day, and not really looking at the team size and, how much manpower that takes. So when we initially started, it was just Gabby and I and a graphic specialist. And we were trying to create content, edit content, post content, interact, and really it was becoming kind of overwhelming, like you had said in the beginning, Lydia. So if we would have established the vision and looked at our team size initially, it would have saved us probably a lot of headache. So we kind of did it backwards. But we're on track now. We got another person on our team who's been able to come in and assist. The other big helpful hint is establishing a community network. So having somebody on your team who has those relationships with, your community-based organizations, your courts, your law enforcement agencies, and just the people that you work, the surrounding agencies that you work with. If you have somebody on your team who already has been around the county for a while, who has been, in the business for a while, those community networks are already established, and it's easier to kind of gather content in some tighter areas that you may not be able to get into if you didn't have that connection. Another thing that we wanted to highlight is just being cognizant of the political climate. That's not just, the state political climate, but your local political climate. We have, you typically are going to have your board members following you. You'll have other high-ranking officials following your social media page. So just kind of being cognizant about what's on that horizon, and posting in accordance with that. Stephanie talked about the education or training. That is a huge thing for us. We also went to the TOC public relations training. We would recommend the training again, just like Stephanie had mentioned. But we also are all self-taught, so don't be afraid to use Google and YouTube. It is a game changer. But we really do think that going into the position kind of with a little bit under your belt, even if it's just learning how to utilize the platforms, is gonna take you a long ways. I know most of us all kind of talked about the analytics. That is that's a new thing that we've been doing in Tulare County. We try to run our analytics every quarter, and analyze our views and, our followers and how long. And thankfully for Gabby, she does all of that. Or thankfully for me, Gabby does all that. But the analytics have been able to actually help us kind of push our message a little bit more to see where either our shortcomings are or what's being successful. So if you have somebody on your team who can look at those at least on, a quarterly basis, it kind of helps you drive content. And then the last thing that we thought was helpful is, I think Stephanie shared or Lydia shared, we went through our social media page and we went back to when we first started and we were like, oh, wow, our photographs aren't really telling the story that we thought that they were telling. So, really having a good understanding of what you want to articulate through a photo. So, we all know people's attention span nowadays are getting less and less and less. So they don't want to take the time to read our actual comments or our actual narrative. It's more, can you display what you are trying to, or can you capture what you're trying to display through a photograph? So, we went back and we kind of refined, like, what does it look like when we go to a career fair? So before we go to any event, we huddle up and we try to come up with a vision, even just for that event itself, what we want to capture, what we want, our public facing site or people who are viewing us to see, and can they actually understand what we're trying to message just through the picture, or just through the reel. So those are some things that I wish I would have known when I took over, or some helpful hints for people maybe who are already far beyond us. But Gabby and George are the real, they have the vision, the mindset, and they have the ability to do all the stuff that I can't do on social media. So I'm going to turn it over to them and they can touch up on like some of the equipment we use and stuff like that.
Thank you. So, hi, my name is Gabby, and I'll be taking it over from here. And just as Chelsea described some of the helpful hints and strategies, these are also things you'll want to consider, but there's definitely no right or wrong way. This is just some of the acquired equipment and programs that we've been able to utilize in the past few years. So when we first took on social media, the team relied on an iPhone, Canva, and the graphics expertise of a part-time graphics specialist. And then in 2021, I was hired, and from 2021 to 2023, the team purchased a professional camera, an additional Creative Cloud license, lighting equipment, and mini microphones. So this equipment and our graphic specialist being hired on full time has really allowed the department to elevate its content quality and expand our media library for additional projects beyond just social media, like our website and department video needs. And then this year, the team is purchasing more equipment to elevate the department and video and photo needs. And so this includes, some portable lights, an additional and more advanced camera. And this additional investment in technology and a newly hired part-time media specialist is allowing our team to expand its social media capabilities and take on additional projects. For example, we have a greater capacity to do more success stories and recruitment content, which is great. And then on our next slide, we also have some examples of some different posts that we've done. And so there's a morning post, community event, recruitment opportunity, and highlight of our services at our juvenile detention facility. And so each of these posts have a purpose, story, and strategy behind them. Although they cover a variety of topics, they all follow our unique branding style and carry a similar voice and tone. And so all of these posts utilize professional equipment and Creative Cloud programs. However, the consistency and strategies described in the helpful hint slide could also be accomplished with minimal technology. You can still run a social media page with just an iPhone and Canva. But this is just how we've slowly expanded to what we have now. So these are just some examples, but from now on, generally we try to have a consistent style that is along with our branding and messaging. And then next, we'd also like to highlight a reel. And so this reel specifically is from the point of a probation court officer. And if we could play the reel.
Hi, I'm Officer Pimentel with Tulare County Probation. Join me for a day as a court officer.
As a court officer, I begin my day by reviewing the court calendar to ensure probation sentencing reports are filed timely and accurately, all memos have been submitted, and custody credits are calculated. I then report to my assigned courtroom prior to the beginning of court and make myself available to answer questions from attorneys, clerks, or judges. Once court is in session, I act as a representative of the probation department and assist the court by providing supervision compliance details, restitution payment information, updated custody credits, and recommendations. My goal as a court officer is to ensure individuals are held accountable while providing suggestions for rehabilitation services and programs. As a probation officer in court, my presence allows for efficient and timely collaboration between justice partners, enhances due process rights, and effectively services the criminal justice process.
Yeah, so this is just one example of a reel that we've been able to film and produce. But just in general, reels have been great to us on Instagram, and we've seen some great engagement there. And so in order to accomplish a project like this, our unit partnered with a court officer to document the functions of a probation officer in court. Our officer helped with escorting our media staff at the courthouse, writing talking points, and facilitating contact with the court for filming permissions. Our media staff, aka me, recorded B-roll and candid shots of our probation officer, then edited the reel in Premiere Pro. But as I said earlier, you can also do a lot on an iPhone. A project like this took myself approximately 30 hours. Keep in mind, the courthouse was 40 minutes from the office, and I've never been inside the courthouse, so I didn't exactly know what I was going to shoot. Once I came back to the office, I watched my footage, color corrected the clips, put them in a sequence, finalized the script, recorded the voiceover, added and customized the captions, and all that to say it takes time, but it's completely worth it. In this reel alone, we hit all of the strategies Chelsea described in the first slide. We had a vision in mind, not just for our page, but what we wanted to accomplish in this post as well, so the purpose. It was a team effort. I had the help of a probation court officer. Together, we had the support from one of her networks at the courthouse. As far as the political climate, probation's role in the courts is a hot topic now. And this was truly able to show probation's role in the justice system as it relates to our courts. And then our analytics are displayed here with over 4,000 views and almost 2,000 accounts reached, with the majority of those being non-followers. There are more views than accounts reached because accounts are viewing the reel more than once. And so that's why that number is different. These analytics help support our overall vision and social media strategy because we can measure the performance of every post. But beyond just this reel, content like this showcases our staff and educates the community on what we do day to day. It appeals to social media users because it provides them with authenticity and realness, which users often seek when they visit their favorite pages. Day in the Life of is a series that you see throughout social media. This is just one way we were able to apply a trend to our page. And so with this example, our audience is hearing through the voice of a probation officer and what probation's role is in the justice system. Content like this really appeals to those who might not know what probation does, what they can do with a career in probation, and maybe they're interested in working for us. This is just one example of what a probation officer does, right? And so with that, we'd like to thank you all for listening to a glimpse of what's really worked for us and for our department. And we hope other departments can utilize these tools for their social media endeavors as well. And if you have any other questions, we'll drop our contact info in the chat, but we really thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Chelsea and Gabby and the team, and Stephanie. Thank you so much. It was so helpful, and what a great way to showcase the things that we talked about and you guys all talked about as well in these videos by saying, here we had all the goals that we had, and this is, we could have only done this if we'd started here and done this. And so thank you so much. That was really perfect. That was exactly what we wanted to hear. So we've moved on to the Q&A portion of that, and I know that the chat has been super busy. Thank you so much for everyone that's been asking questions and helping each other out. I already saw someone drop a social media policy handout thing, so thank you so much. That's so helpful for the other people on the team, on the call, I mean. We did see a couple questions that we wanted to address here, and I know some of them have been answered already. So, I mean, go ahead and hop in, county reps, if you see something and you wanted to answer it as well. Stephanie addressed the copyright issues with the music. That, yes, great answer, Stephanie. If you use in-platform music, then that you're fine with that. There's also, when you use, like, I know with Adobe Creative Cloud, you have access to music that's only available for people who pay for the right to do that. If you pay for the premium subscription of Canva, or like there's a nonprofit option I know as well, when you have an account and they have a library, you have access to that music. And so you're able to use it for your projects. You don't have to go seek outside like approval or anything for that. So there's that. That's a great bonus for using the in-platform editing programs. Like Stephanie said, if you use it all within Instagram, that's super helpful. If anyone has anything else to contribute, go for it. And then great questions. Anyone else have any other questions for our county representatives as well? Maybe more specifically?
Yes.
Feel free. Yeah, go for it.
Hi there, this is Supervisor Probation Officer Oleg Lorado from San Mario County. I'm the PIO for the department. I see that you say you guys don't take down, you post the comments. So what do you guys do? We had, for an example, this week, we had a staff member who decided to go anonymous on their own Instagram private account and did a 3-page berating of staff members and naming names and what they were doing. Our chief wanted that taken down immediately. We did archive it, but what would be your policy on that if they're naming staff specifically and criticizing what they're doing or claiming they're violating policy?
Oh, I can kind of speak on this, and this happened to us also a couple of times. So if they're just berating us just to berate us, right, we just let it go. But we did have staff targeted, and we hide the comment, and then we document it, right? So we have our own policy that says, you know, what we can, you know, what we can and cannot remove. Also, our county has a policy, but we do have a link to like the content restrictions for the social media platform. So even though legally, you know, Public Records Act says that we can't take it down, as long as it's documented, screenshot, printed, and you have like real justification, you know, they can't just come back and sue you for taking it down. So you at least have some protection there.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I
thank
can comment as well.
Awesome, thank you.
So for Sac County, we've had like someone from a ghost account go on to post on our page and talk negatively about a staff. And so that was something that I would screenshot, document, and then forward it to our internal investigations. And then it was dealt with in that kind of chain of events. I also hide comments that are inappropriate. So we don't delete them because you can't, but I will hide them so they don't come right up when someone looks at a post.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to unmute and have any questions?
Yeah, Jason Garcia with Merced County. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Just back to the copyrighted music thing. So you said when you go through Instagram, and you're doing reels, you do you just use like pre-made templates, or are you able to search like music? Because I haven't had much luck with that. When I go to like put my my live photos in a reel, it'll just use the audio from the live photo, and it seems like even when I search like, you know, popular music, it doesn't allow me to even find any of those songs that are normally on Instagram. I think it's because the type of account I'm searching through.
We had the same issue because we created our account as like a business account. If you convert it over to creator, then you have access to all the music.
Okay.
So it's just kind of a little switch. It doesn't affect your account in any way, but we had the same issue. We're like, what's going on?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I know that there also are websites and stuff you can search to say like trending audio on Instagram, and a lot of times it'll show you those trending audios, and then sometimes they're not listed as like a song, or they kind of have a funky name to it. So sometimes that's helpful to find elsewhere and then go in and use that to search for, because the trending audios are more likely to be shown, I think, usually. So there's another option as well.
If you're also looking for trending audio on Instagram, if you go to your profile page where it says professional dashboard, if you click on professional dashboard and scroll to the bottom, there is a link that says trending audio, and it'll bring you to a lot of the songs that are trending.
Which is under the creator profile, right?
Yeah, so when you're reviewing your profile and kind of mid-screen, it says professional dashboard. Click on that.
Okay. Thank you. I'm writing all this down.
Awesome.
There's also a website that I've visited from time to time. It's called Free Music Archive. And I mean, the audio isn't trending. It's not like the trending Instagram sounds, but at least you have an ability to use it really without, you know, getting into any trouble. I can paste it in the chat. Let's see.
Thank you. Yeah. I'd be interested in that.
Awesome. Great question. Any other questions if you want to unmute? feel free.
Ricardo Almonte here with Merced County Probation. For you guys, is there a preference with for your departments whether you guys use photos when you guys post things up on your guys' social medias or videos? What do you guys prefer, photos or videos? Where do you guys see the more likes, the more views?
So I can speak to that a little bit and then Gabby can take over if I forget anything. We found when we were looking through our analytics that on Facebook, photos did pretty decent, but on Instagram, the video or the reels or the photo carousels were a lot more successful. And I think that kind of goes to just the different generations probably that are on each of those platforms. But definitely if you're trying to stick with Instagram, the reels do go well. And the quick reels. So the reel that we showed today was a longer reel just to kind of get our message out about a day in the life of a court officer. But if you do a quick reel, we're seeing a lot of good feedback on those. And the longer reels obviously don't get as many. But Gabby, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I've seen reels do a lot better on Instagram, but I haven't seen that same success on Facebook. And so if you have the ability to even try out some more still images on Facebook or LinkedIn, and then also do an Instagram reel. But yeah, I just haven't seen that same success, but reels are definitely at the top in Instagram.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Have another question? Feel free to ask. I know Joanna asked a question about one of the recent videos that we posted on our page, the animated video, what is probation, what is California probation? So that is an older video. I will say it definitely, we would like to update that one soon, but I created that one back in 2020, I think. And it was, I used Beyond video programming, Beyond Video Maker, I think actually is what it's called. I just put the link in the chat. That's also a really fairly easy. It did take me a while to get used to it because I'd never used it before, but it's animation, but it's pre-built animation. So you can like pick a character and drag them and drop them and then click on it and it'll, have a wave, that sort of a thing. So it's fairly simple because obviously I'm not an animator and that's a whole that's a whole job itself that I am not familiar with. But this was pre-made and templates that were made, and then I just adjusted as needed, added the little CPOC logo, things like that. It was a lot of fun to make. It did take a long time. So that's why it hasn't been remade in a while, because it did take, I would say probably many weeks. And then the audio recording was a little more complicated, recording audio, dropping it and timing it up. So, but they do have a free version, fairly limited. And then the premium version is what we use to make that video, but hopefully we'll be able to make another one or something similar. But it does take a while. Looks like we have, okay. Thank you, Noelle, for responding to Jocelyn. Archive Social or similar archiving program. Do you, Tulare or San Joaquin, do you guys have an archive system or?
We don't currently utilize one, but we would be interested in learning more if someone does.
Anyone tracking statistics, and if so, how?
Yeah, so we use Facebook Business Manager and then also the insights on Instagram. But if you don't, if you don't have a Facebook, Hootsuite is also good. There's also other platforms that you can utilize as well, but some of them are paid. So
yeah, the Meta platform is really great. You can see it compares the insights and the analytics between your Facebook and your Instagram. So yeah, I find it super useful.
yeah, I like it. And within the platform itself, you can actually create goals for the page. So if you want to set a goal for a certain amount of followers next month, you can create that goal for yourself in there. And it also gives you just a screen grab of what some of the posts that did the best. So you can kind of see where your engagement was throughout the month. And then that helps with any social media planning in the future.
Any county using job posting services on LinkedIn?
We don't currently use the job posting services on there because you can only post one job for free on LinkedIn through that avenue, and beyond that one job, LinkedIn has varying charges. Like the amount that you would be required to pay is set by a range, and there just isn't really a great way to keep track of that. But we'd be interested if there's anyone else.
We also did the one free post. Our county posts all of our jobs through LinkedIn, so we can reshare them that way. But what I did find when we did our free job, it submitted all the applications directly into LinkedIn, so none of them ever made it to like HR, and they never kind of got turned into, you know, the actual recruitment, I guess, through the county. So it was kind of like they kind of just died there. So that was definitely a learning curve for us, and it maxed out at 4 people. I want to say 4 people is the max you can get.
Awesome. And then real quickly, what helpful tips has worked for everyone's department to grow followers? If you have something you can either drop it in the chat, or anyone wants to unmute and answer that.
For us, we just tag everyone we're working with. Every agency we reshare whenever we participate in something, or we tag CA probation in almost everything. We get you guys to reshare too. But I would say just that engagement, going out there, following other pages, liking other pages, and that's countywide. So every city we follow: City of Lodi, City of Stockton, City of Tracy, Manteca, the local high schools and colleges. And the more you engage, the followers, they really start growing quickly. We doubled our followers. We went from 2,000 to 4,000 followers in like 6 months, just once this full-time position came on board. And we really started focusing on it. It skyrocketed.
And we've also seen some better numbers, especially with reels, because like the example that we shared, there was a greater amount of non-followers watching that reel. And so that's been great in growing our audience. And I don't see those same ratios with just still photos or graphics.
Awesome. And thank you for those who are sharing in the chat. That's awesome. I just also wanted to I know we're over. This has been so great. I feel like we could talk about this for hours and pick your guys' brains so much. If you would like to join, we're going to be creating a social media contact list for all the different departments, just for this very reason, so we can network, ask questions, connect with people who might have a similar size department to yours, just getting started, been doing it a while, that sort of thing. If you would like to join, we don't want anyone to feel forced. We're not going to require anything, but if you'd like to join it and get your name and email, feel free to drop that in the chat. We'll collect it, create a list, and then we will email it out to those who attend, to those of you who attended, just as a way to be reached. And feel free to, if you want to answer questions and help those out and just connect, it would be awesome. We really appreciate it. It also helps us when we're looking for content to be able to reach out to specific counties, and reach out to the social media person. Because I know it's not always easy to find you guys. But I just wanted to say thank you again so much to Tulare and San Joaquin for jumping on and sharing, and for all of you who participated and asked questions. This is how we learn, this is how we grow, and this is how we do better. And so thank you so much for participating and for listening to us talk today. And thank you for those who are dropping your names in the chat. Really appreciate that. It's awesome. We're gonna hopefully create a really awesome little network here and be able to help each other grow. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Lydia. I just want to echo that while we have folks still commenting in the chat and growing the list of connections. So just thank you to everybody again. Thank you to the teams from San Joaquin and Tulare for presenting. It's super helpful, very great information. And also for us from a CPOC perspective to know a little bit better about how counties work and some of the specifics. It's been really, really super helpful, and wonderful job, Lydia. Thank you so much for putting this all together and sharing your wealth of information with everybody. So we really appreciate that as well.
No problem. And if there was a question maybe you didn't have, or you think of it later, or you didn't get a chance to ask it, you can always email me, and I can either answer it or find someone who can, or redirect it to maybe one of the county reps who can answer it better. So please do not hesitate to reach out at any time. Email. My office number is in my byline. So if you send me an email, you can also get a hold of me by phone. So happy to help. And thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it.